everyone. Happy Friday and happy Halloween coming up. So thank you for joining us today on this beautiful, beautiful Friday. We welcome you to come on down to our campus for all animals here at the Houston SPCA and take a look at our beautiful campus and even more our beautiful pets that we have up available for adoption. We have puppies, we have kittens, we have cats, we have dogs, and we're really excited this weekend. We know it's a celebratory weekend. People are going to be out getting a lot of treats and having fun times, going to parties. And so today, in a few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about some of the things you want to be aware of this Halloween season and ways to keep your pets safe. But before I get to that, I want you all to take a wonderful look at a beautiful girl that we have up available for adoption. This cutie pie is named Julie. Julie is so cute. And Julie, she looks a little bit like a hot dog. If you're getting hungry, then, Julie's looking a little bit like a delicious hot dog. And we're going to talk about costumes and pets too in a few minutes. Julie is available for adoption. Julie came to us through our ambulance service. For those of you all that don't know, the Houston SPCA has a 24-hour ambulance service where we work to rescue injured and sick animals off the streets of Houston. And we get them healthy and well and put them up for adoption like Julie here. So she's looking for her forever home. Julie actually had no hair when she came in. So she was completely bald. She had a skin parasite, a type of non-contagious mange when she came in. It's not the contagious type. And so all her hair's grown back. She looks like a completely different dog. She's quite adorable. We think she's just around 1 or 2 years old. So come on down, take a look at Julie. She's getting some nice treats there. And we're going to talk about that for this Halloween weekend as well. So please come on down. Again, I'm Dr. Westbrook. I'm your host for today. Please post some questions. Let me know if you have any questions about what your pets should or shouldn't do this weekend as you're celebrating Halloween. Okay? Thank you guys so much. So I will start the topic off with food, because anytime, it's holiday season. Anytime the holidays are coming up, we love to eat. We love to get treats. We love to have things around the house that we don't typically have. And particularly for Halloween, it's candy, right? A lot of us love candy all the time. And when we love candy, our pets are watching us eat the candy and they want anything that we're eating. But we have to be careful about that, because probably the number one thing that you guys are familiar with and you've heard over the years is the dangers of chocolate toxicity. So there's going to be a lot of chocolate around this weekend. Please make sure that you keep that chocolate away from your dogs and cats. Chocolate is toxic to pets. I do want to point out that the darker the chocolate, the more toxic it is. So if you have a dark chocolate, which we tend to think is healthier for us, and that's true, but unfortunately, it is more toxic for our pets. So if you have dark chocolates, please keep those away from your pets. Now, as we move toward the milk chocolate and even the white chocolate, those are not as toxic, but certainly can still cause some illness if your pet eats enough of it. So as you guys take a look at Julie, I'm going to bring over another cutie that's available for adoption here. And this is Willow. Willow is a cute, adorable little, where is she? Where Willow? Oh, there she is. There she goes. Look at this cute kitten in this little pumpkin here. She's all ready for Halloween, aren't you? She's all ready. This is Willow. So she's also one of our little pets that's going to be available for Halloween this weekend. So again, as you are enjoying the holidays, please keep these sorts of delicious treats away from your pets, even if it's not chocolate, even if it's something, like a fruity type of candy. You might think, well, that's not toxic. But what we have to realize is that as our pets eat things that they're not normally used to, it can still cause GI upset, stomach upset, vomiting, and diarrhea. And so although it may not be fatal, it can still cause some abnormal clinical signs. So we don't want to give our pets things that they're not used to eating, and certainly things that they wouldn't normally have on a regular basis. Isn't Willow cute? Look at that. And there are so many other pets just like Willow here at the Houston SPCA campus for all animals. She's fallen asleep like that. Oh my goodness. So bring the family, bring your friends, come on down. There's no appointment necessary to take a look at our pets. So you can just come right on down. There is a requirement for masks. So if you're coming on campus, please have your face mask ready, but otherwise just come on in and hang out with us. All right, Willow, thank you so much. But Willow can hang out with us if she wants. So we've talked about candy and keeping that away from your pets. Great, you've kept it away from your pets. You're eating the candy. You've got the wrappers out. Make sure you also throw your wrappers in the trash can too. Pets are very good at sniffing these things out. So even though you're not giving them any candy, make sure that you haven't left the scraps and the trash around the house, because they can get into the trash. Keep the lids closed on your trash cans, and make sure that they're not getting into the trash. Does anybody have any questions about this Halloween weekend?
Yes, Dr. Westbrook. What if the worst happens and your pet just gets into a massive bucket of candy and just eats all?
Oh, I know. Sometimes that happens, right? Accidents happen. They get into your candy. They're going to eat it. Contact your family veterinarian right away. They are likely going to do a couple of procedures to try to help rid your pet of of everything they've eaten. So sometimes if it's soon enough, what we as veterinary professionals do is we take a history and say, what did your pet get into? How much? And so you might want to have an idea about these things before you call your family veterinarian. How big is your pet? What did they get into? How much do you think they ate? Your veterinarian is going to use that information to determine the next best course of action. Sometimes that means giving medication to help your pet vomit that food up, whatever they got into, that candy, we want to get it out. So sometimes they'll administer medication for that. If they think that's not a good idea, they may give other medication to help that candy or whatever food it was pass safely through the gastrointestinal tract so that it causes very minimal signs. In the worst case scenarios, it may require that your pet be hospitalized, and your pet may get fluids, may get around the clock care and medication. But the most important thing is, if you notice that your pet's gotten into something that he or she shouldn't have, contact your family veterinarian right away. They'll talk to you about the next best steps, but it's likely going to be a trip to the doctor. Any other questions?
So what about when it comes to like baked treats and brownies and things like that? Does it make it more or less or the same toxicity?
Yeah. So that's a good question. You're going to be doing a lot of home cooking because maybe you're having friends and family over, and so it's fun to make things at home. And so you might be thinking that because these things are natural, maybe there's eggs in there and flour, and individually those things don't seem like they're going to be harmful. But again, even though those things may not be harmful, if it's something that your pet is not used to eating and it's something new from their regular diet, any sudden change in diet can still cause a little GI upset. So you still want to make sure that you keep them away from that. Particularly, again, cakes and brownies have chocolate in them, particularly the baking chocolate. You don't want your pets to get into that. So keep them clear of all of those baked treats, even though they're made at home and you think they might be a little healthier. Not so for our pets. So we've talked about food a little bit. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is things around the house, like decorations. So you're going to have a lot of decorations around the house. You may have things that are hanging and that are very attractive to kittens, especially. You guys that have kittens know they love things that are swinging around and that they can chase and that they can climb on. So just make sure that you have decorations that aren't going to be potentially harmful to your pets. That if you notice that you may want to consider putting your pets away for the evening, particularly on Halloween when you're going to have a lot of people over. Maybe you can't watch them, and just keep them safe from all of those decorations. Another hazard with decorations is candles. So rather than having true candles where there's fire, you may want to consider getting some sort of LED or electrical candle so that you can just reduce a fire hazard as well. We don't want any fires to break out. We don't want our pets to suffer any injury or illness from candles. So using LED type candles might be a great alternative this weekend. Any other questions?
So a big topic usually around this time of year is about jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkin disposal. And what's the best way to do that? Can you treat your pumpkins in a way that's, you can preserve them, that's safe for wildlife later, all sorts of things like that.
Oh, that's a great question. So what do you do with all of the pumpkins that are out there? Because sometimes we feed pumpkin to our pets because in some cases, pumpkin can actually provide some fiber to the diet and in some cases be very helpful. But again, there's a lot of seeds and a lot of, the inside of the pumpkin that we don't want, laying around. And a lot of people paint their pumpkins. And sometimes the things that we put on there, the glitter, the paint, those things are not healthy for our pets and particularly for wildlife. So you want to make sure that you are keeping them protected, taking them in during the early morning hours and late at night, unless it's Halloween night and everybody's going to be out around the pumpkins, then wildlife are less likely to come around. But leaving them out all the time could potentially affect the wildlife. So you may want to bring them in at times where you're not going to be outside or early in the morning and late in the evening. So a great question about that. And then when you're discarding them, put them in the trash can, keep the lids completely closed. If you're using some sort of synthetic product on the pumpkin, those things are going to be unhealthy for the wildlife as well. So you want to keep them closed in a trash container so that they can't be eaten. Any other questions?
You're all good.
Fabulous. Okay. Then last thing about costumes, right? So we're going to be taking our pets maybe to trick or treat with our family. We may be taking them to parties. Costumes are adorable and they look cute. Julie in her hot dog costume particularly looks very cute. What you want to make sure with costumes for your pet is that pay attention to your pet's behavior. Pets may tolerate the costume, and that's so nice that they tolerate us and allow us to be entertained by that. But we don't want them to be stressed for a long period of time. So if it appears that your pet is stressed by the costume, and what does that look like? A couple of different things. They have a costume on and maybe they freeze. They don't move at all. You might see this particularly in cats. You put something on a cat, like a t-shirt or something on their head, and they usually just freeze. They don't know what to do. Or sometimes they run and they hide and they go under the bed or in the closet and they're struggling to try to get the costume off because it's uncomfortable. If you notice those types of behaviors in your pet, those kind of stress-induced behaviors, you may want to consider just taking the costume off because we don't want them to be stressed for a prolonged period of time. Our pets may tolerate it, and that's great. They may walk with us, but again, maybe give them a break from it and see if they are happier without the costume. Consider this as well. Some breeds and some personality types might be better with costumes than others. If you have a small breed dog that you typically put a t-shirt on or dress up regularly, and they seem to be very used to it, they may tolerate a Halloween costume a little bit better because they're used to it. But if you have a large Labrador or, a dog like Julie size that maybe doesn't wear costumes often, they may have a little bit more of an adjustment period. So with those animals, it's also very important that you just, again, pay attention to their behavior, make sure they're not getting too stressed, and make sure the costume doesn't interfere with their normal movement and their interaction with you, with other people, and other pets. So if the costume has a lot of, strange things like tentacles or, big strings or something hanging from it, it could interfere with the way that they move. It could also be awkward for other pets that are encountering them, and it can cause some abnormal interactions. So try to pick costumes that are very subtle and that don't interfere with the movement. Julie's hot dog costume here, as you can see, doesn't really interfere with her movement. She doesn't seem to notice it. It's much like a backpack. Many dogs will carry backpacks when they're going on walks or hiking. And so this mimics that. and it doesn't interfere too much. And so this might be an appropriate costume for a medium-sized dog. What other questions do you have?
So Julie's got her little hot dog on. What are some signs that she seems comfortable? Like what's to look for to kind of confirm, like, okay, my pet's good with this?
Yes, great. So Julie is walking around normally. We know Julie because she's been with us for a few weeks, and so we know her behavior. And we know that this costume is not affecting her behavior negatively because we know her personality. So she's acting very much like she always has. She's walking around. She's enjoying treats. She's not freezing. She's not rolling on the ground or trying to get the costume off of her. She seems not to notice it at all. She's interacting with people in the room and doesn't seem to be bothered by it. So if you're noticing that your pet is kind of going about their normal life without seeming bothered by that costume, they're probably okay. And as long as it's on them for a short period of time, I don't think you should have a problem. Great question.
What if you've got a new puppy or kitten or something like that, and you want to train them to be comfortable with costumes and things like that later? What's the best way to do that?
I would start with something subtle. So if you have a puppy or kitten and you want them maybe to be able to wear clothing later on, start with something subtle like a t-shirt. When they're really young, you can use like a onesie, a baby onesie. And so you can start with that, see how they tolerate it, and then leave it on for longer periods of time. Initially, I would only put it on for a few minutes and see how they react. And then over periods of time, you can leave it on longer and longer and see if they get used to that. And so over time, they may learn to tolerate it. But if they don't, it's okay. And we don't want to force them to wear a costume or to wear clothing if they really aren't going to enjoy it. It's usually for us, and our pets are happy being in their cute little bundles of fur that they're already in. So we just don't want to force them and add to their stress. Any other questions?
Yeah, so Natalie's got a question. What are some tips for having people over for Halloween get-togethers that could, stress out pets, and how do you prevent that from happening?
Great question. So again, could potentially be an anxiety-inducing holiday, right? You may have people over, there's going to be loud music, and there's going to be a lot of decorations and people who look very different than the people that they're used to seeing every day. So if you know that your pet is already prone to anxiety, this is a great time to see your family veterinarian and see what they suggest in terms of medication. So some pets that suffer from anxiety can be prevented. Those episodes can be prevented by giving medication to help calm them for the night. You can also consider isolating your pet from the night, away from all of the noise and the music. So putting them in a crate or in a bedroom or in a bathroom that they're used to can just prevent them from getting too anxious. Those might be some things that you think about. So keep the noise down, keep the costumes to a minimum if you know that your pet has some anxiety. Great questions.
Okay, she's also got another question about investigators. What are some common Halloween cruelty ambulance calls, and are we going to be working on Halloween night?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. So what kind of things might our cruelty investigators be looking for on a holiday like Halloween? Unfortunately, pets like black cats can be at a high risk for cruelty and abuse during this holiday. Some people use black cats for awful things, and we don't want to see that. So if you are an owner, a pet parent of a black cat, you may want to consider keeping your cat indoors, bringing that cat indoors for the weekend surrounding the Halloween holiday. If your pet is not microchipped, this is a good time to consider microchipping your pet. So if your pet gets out, we can find your pet and get them reunited with you as soon as possible. But unfortunately, Halloween can bring out some behaviors that are cruel to animals and things that we certainly don't even want to think about, much less mention. So keep your pet safe. Make sure they're microchipped, make sure they're on a leash, make sure they're indoors with you, and that we have a way to contact you if they get out accidentally. So great question. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's going to be a fun weekend. We encourage you all to come down to our campus this weekend. We are having an exciting event this weekend. We are having a wonderful gala that we would like you to help us with by going to HoustonSPCA.org. We have a silent auction that's going on right now. It's live. We have some wonderful packages of gifts, including activities, events, spas, shopping sprees, all kinds of things that you can bid on and that you might win. And all of those proceedings will go to the Houston SPCA. All that fundraising will really help us to help animals in our community. So go to HoustonSPCA.org, look at the items in our live silent auction, bid on something. You just might be the winner. And not only are you going to be the winner, you are going to help us help animals. And so everybody wins. So thank you guys so much. We're excited to see you guys this weekend. Please be safe. Enjoy Halloween, and we will see you next Friday. Again, I'm Dr. Westbrook. Good to see you. See you next week.